Do we get a countdown? Fancy countdown?
You can count down if you want to. All right,
Needs,
I'm gonna
needs some
start the
elevator
event.
music for this.
Okay, let's go. Let's kick off the first AMA with the new owners of Sword Factory. We're going to start with some introductions, just so you know who is going to be talking your ear off for the next half an hour or so. Actually, it might be a bit longer. Depends how many questions we get. So I'm Mike, CEO of Tailwind. I'll explain who Tailwind are in a little bit. But my background is 18 years making games. I've worked on a lot of games in my career so far. I guess some that you'll know would be like RuneScape. Spent a lot of time working on RuneScape in my early career. Our tech director Max was also on RuneScape. He's been involved with the work we've been doing on Sword Factory recently as well. And yeah, worked on some really cool games. Started this business with some amazing people on Roblox about 3 years ago now. So we've been in the space for a while. Not as long as most of you guys, but we're not total noobs on Roblox. Joining me today, let me just bring the window up. We have the delightful Stata. I'll hand you over to Stata for an intro.
Hey everyone, yeah, my first name's David. Starter is my gamer tag most places. I've been with Tailwind about 6 months now, maybe longer, 6 or 7 months. Prior to that, I was the head of marketing at Adopt.me. I was there for 2.5, nearly 3 years. And prior to that, I had a couple of years just as a player on the platform. So, but work-wise, I spent a lot of my time putting together IRL events. So I used to run the likes of New York Comic Con, PAX, EGX in the UK, if you're aware of that. And yeah, just working with a bunch of different gaming and entertainment brands, getting their new products out there. So yeah, I'm mostly focused at the moment from your guys' point of view on building out the community, trying to put together things like this where we can talk to the community that play our games, make sure that you're aware of what's going on, and we're listening to you. That kind of bridge between the community and the development team. So yeah, looking forward to doing more of these, and hopefully you will gain something from this session.
Thanks, David. Dan, over to you.
Hey guys, I am Dan, or Cosmic, as you'll see me in the channels. I'm Tailwind's design director, so I've been with these guys for about a year and a bit now. But I've been making games for about 10 years now, so not as many as Skipples, but I'm getting there slowly but surely. Done pretty much everything you could think of in terms of design, from like the crazy number crunching spreadsheet nonsense, which has been my life on this game, but also like lots of other stuff like level design and all that kind of jazz. First began roundabout modding and sort of modding Skyrim and modding the Elder Scrolls games in particular. So that's where I got my kicks and been addicted to it ever since. So yeah, I'm sure we'll be talking about some of the stuff that has been done on this game very soon.
Very soon. But there seems to be a lot of hype in the chat about that, like people getting a bit impatient. I kind of like it. There's also a few other members of our team who are in the chat. Gina, big shout out. She's trying to tame the hype a little bit. And we got, I can see a few familiar names. We got like Theo and some others. So yeah, thanks for joining. And also a few old legends of Sword Factory. I can see that Nathan's turned up, which is awesome. Hey Nathan, good to have you here, mate. And a few others. But speaking of people from the community, I would like to bring to the stage someone that you probably know quite well from running the Discord for a little bit now, Mr. Badonk himself. I'm not sure if you want to say a few words.
Sure, I can. And welcome everybody. We are pleased to be talking to you. It will be interesting to follow this development in the future. Many of you know me by now. The ones that don't know me, please reach out. I'll happily interact with each and every one of you. Yeah, that's just about it, I think.
You got the patience of the saint. Everything that you do is massively appreciated. So yeah, thanks. Great to have you here. Right, let's discuss Sword Factory. That's what we're all here to hear about, right? So let's have a look at what the one sec. Okay, so yeah, the next section is about overview of some changes to Sword Factory. So I'm just going to jump straight into it. We haven't had an update on the game beyond performance updates for a very long time. So I'd say like you're talking probably like October-ish perhaps, since there was any kind of new content that went into the game. The state of the game is pretty rough, and it has been for a while in terms of the performance has been improved. The very first update that we did in about April was focused on making the performance a lot better, and that has improved. But that's still not going to keep that isn't going to get anyone playing, right? It's not going to make the game fun. And the thing that I think everyone will appreciate that has been the biggest problem with the game for a long time is the balancing. You can I mean, I'm probably gonna get a few amens here, but like you can start the game as a new player, and within 5 minutes you've got trillions of cash, like probably a number that I can't even pronounce, of cash within 10 minutes. And there's just no balancing to the game at all of any kind of meaning. So that's what Dan and Theo have been working on for the last few weeks, working on a progression of Sword Factory that is much more rewarding because it actually feels like you're making progress and you're actually having a good, enjoyable experience. This isn't going to be a surprise to everyone because people already know that this has been a big concern of ours. And we've been talking to quite a few people in the community about how we proceed to launch a big balancing rework like this. And there's obviously a few options. So option one would be launch it as a normal update and just carry on the game as it is with new great balancing. Well, hopefully great. I don't think that's the right way because the economy is so inflated in terms of gems and swords and leaderboards, and I just don't think that there's any way forward like that. Another option would be a full data wipe on everyone. So yeah, like keep the same game, bring everyone back to the beginning, find ways to kind of reward the people for progress they did. That's option two. We decided not to do that. What we have decided to do, and what you guys will be experiencing pretty soon, is a relaunch of the game called Sword Factory Reforged. And it's not just balancing changes. There are some other changes there. The way that we like to see it is it's kind of like World of Warcraft Classic, where they like relaunched World of Warcraft the vanilla from many years ago, and you kind of started fresh, everyone with a level playing field, and you kind of gate content so that you're not dumping 10 years worth of content on the community all in one go. You're like releasing an amount of content, an amount of features. So we won't be releasing things like dungeons at the beginning, for example. So those are kind of out of the game for now. It's highly likely that something like dungeons will come back, but it's maybe not going to be exactly like WoW Classic, where in WoW Classic everything came back as close to the original as possible. I think we'll try and do something a bit more like Final Fantasy Remake, where there's a lot of the kind of essence of the game captured, but where there's ways we can improve it, we'll make a lot of effort to do it. So we don't want introducing dungeons into the game to break actually crafting swords, which is what happened last time, right? There was as soon as dungeons came in, that like became the new meta, and that was the only way to play the game. Like that isn't going to happen again. So we're trying to be very careful with the content that comes out, and generally the idea is just to have a really fun, fresh game, like where everyone can like start playing at the same time, have some fun, and when you get a new mold, it actually feels really special because there aren't 10 million of people who have got like something way stronger than that, and it just gives you an amount of cash you can't even describe. So before I start waffling, I'm gonna give you a release date. I'm not even gonna tease you with this one and wait until like ages. The release date for Sword Factory Reforged will be, drumroll, the 7th of June 2023. So about 2 weeks now until we release Sword Factory Reforged for everyone to play. There will be some testing for the tester community sooner than that. It may even be this weekend. So some of the testers can jump in and have a look. We will be accepting new testers as well for that. So if anyone does want to kind of check it out early, we can maybe like obviously we don't want like 30,000 people playing it before it's like finalized. But yeah, that's a lot of me, a lot of monologue. Dan, what are your thoughts about Sword Factory Reforged?
I'm pretty excited. It's a fresh slate, but with the stuff that made Sword Factory X pretty great. So, I mean, I can discuss some of the stuff that we've done already, like the main changes, and just go from there.
I reckon do it. Yeah, let's give the guys some juice.
Cool. So yeah, obviously we've heard from all you guys that the balance is clearly a huge issue. I can see lots of people talking about dungeons and how dungeons just weren't balanced, and yeah, we totally agree. So what has happened is we've done a massive deep dive into the game. We've completely pulled out all of the information and stats and stuff and put it in an insane spreadsheet, which has given us a bit more insight into how it all works. So we've completely revamped the balance of the game. Rarities, qualities, sword molds, all this sort of stuff at the beginning of the game is going to appear much more gradually. So upgrading your machines, leveling up, prestiging your machines, all of this stuff is like super important now. Probably like it was in the original days, I would hope. Like you're playing Sword Factory, this is a factory to make the swords. This is the most important part of the game at the moment. So the progression there is much more gradual, much smoother. You have to work and, spend money on your machines to get better stuff. So you're not just going to get a prismatic exoskeleton lunatic plus sword within seconds of playing. Those days are gone. The second thing that has kind of changed, and this is quite a significant change, I think, from what happened previously, is that the enemies which you face in the different zones, so in Noob Island, in Icy Plains, in Magma Hills, all these kinds of places, there's now specific level brackets and bands. So you're supposed to upgrade your level, upgrade your swords, and then you will be challenged as you kind of go through these different brackets. There'll be more and more powerful enemies to test your better swords against.
So on this point, Dan, just something that, like, to be even more specific, previously the game was taking the level of those NPCs off like what the average player level of everyone on the server. So there was like it was varying based on a few factors, right? So like now it is much more of a linear, natural progression through the zones. Is that what you're saying?
That is precisely what I'm saying. So previously, like, you could have really high level people on the server, and those people would affect all of the poor noobs who were just trying to get into the game. They would now be fighting super high level enemies with
You had like level
ludicrously
800 noobs on the first island, right? It was mad.
Yeah. So that has now been fixed. Hopefully we won't have those issues ever again. But
yes. It is fixed. I was playing it today. It's fixed.
Excellent. Yeah, can't wait for people to check that out. What else? What other stuff has changed? There is more stuff that's changed. Let's see. Yes, there's balance destroying stuff like dungeons, right? So dungeons have been removed for now. The concept is really interesting of dungeons, so they will come back at some point in a certain iteration, but not the way that they were before. I'm going to try and find a way to make them much more interesting and better balanced so that they don't just supplant everything completely. It's not the way to play the game necessarily.
Dan, can you make us some Tears of the Kingdom style dungeon?
I'm sure we can look into that.
If we had $1 million.
Yes, I will be getting more inspiration from Tears of the Kingdom later tonight. But more on that later. What else? Other stuff that has been changed. The Ascender has been nerfed slightly because previously there was a lot of luck going on the Ascender, and
We
again,
had arguments about this, didn't we, Dan?
we did. You were convinced that this was like 100% the game, which I disagree with. I don't think that sitting watching the Ascender work is necessarily a fun game. It's useful, but it's not necessarily fun. So, yeah, there's a bit more effort that needs to go into it now, but it's still very important. Yeah, so that's the key things that have been removed. It's massive stuff that's going to break the balance. And oh yeah, another exciting thing that's coming is the way that swords display their information has changed, and we've reworked the machine slightly and the cell station. So now you don't have to angle your camera at some silly degree just to like see what the stats of your swords are. You can just run over, have a look at them, see what they're selling for, see what their actual stats are.
But it's still the same game that you know and used to love until it wasn't loved anymore because of the times 80 server multiplayer and many things like that. But all of those things have been sorted, hopefully. And any that haven't, we should be able to iron out in testing. But yeah, thanks, Dan. That was awesome. A couple of other things came up while Dan was talking there. So Gina has been sharing some eye candy in the eye candy channel. If anyone hasn't had a chance to look at that yet, go check out the new Sword Factory Reforged logo, which is snazzy AF. And there was a question that I think Gina's already answered, but it was what will happen to the old Sword Factory, the current Sword Factory, Sword Factory X. Sword Factory X will remain live in its current state. We're unlikely to be doing any updates on Sword Factory X in the near future. But yeah, it won't be nerfed or people won't have their like data wiped or anything like that. So if you still really love Sword Factory X and that's what you want to play, keep playing Sword Factory X. We're not going to ruin it any more than it already is. David, how are you feeling about Sword Factory Reforged so far and all the info that you've heard today?
I'm excited. We've spent a lot of time playing the original game. We spent a lot of time like testing this new game. I'm excited to bring the community in, those that have already signed up and those that will sign up to the testing program. So we're going to put out some more information on how you can get involved and how you can kind of get a bit of an early play session through it. Just to put it out there, like the whole point of testing is to find bugs. So there, like any development project, there will still be little niggles that you find, and that's the whole point. Like bring them up. So yeah, like I think when I first played it, like when I joined about 4 or 5 months ago, I played the game for the first time, and I think within like less than 5 minutes, I had billions and billions of currency, and it was quite clear to see like where the issues were, and I think that's what the team has been really focused on working, is ironing out those major problems. So we've kept the essence of the elements that everyone loves, like the general concept of the game. We've stripped back the things that people identified weren't working, and we kind of saw that they just were causing issues. And we can work like Skibble said, we can work to re-add some of those features, but probably in a different way, a way that's going to be sustainable and we can keep adding to, rather than something that's going to dramatically affect the gameplay that people have. So yeah, like I'm really excited about this project. There's obviously a really big, passionate community. I've spent the last few weeks like openly chatting with people about the game, about as much as I can. Like I've been purposefully not mentioning what's been going on. It's been hard. Like a lot of people have obviously invested a ton of time, which is why we've kept the existing game. Like we don't want you to lose what you have, but I think what everyone can agree on is that it just wasn't the right experience. So you can still play Sword Factory X. That's going to be something that we're not going to continue to update, but it will be there as it is. You're not going to lose items, etc. But what you will have is a fresh new version, which we think is the right balance. And to be honest, it's just not as fun. Like when you're playing, when it's just that easy to gain the rank. So what this new version does, it gives you that difficulty curve that you actually you want to strive to get those really rare items. The really rare
And then
items.
like you can trade with other players, right? It makes the whole
Yeah,
game more social, because if you get a really cool sword, that's actually a really exciting moment now, because you know that that's like valuable and other people will want it and you can show it off, and like it just, everything just feels more exciting when the game's a little bit more balanced. Well, a lot more balanced in this case.
yeah, and those rarities are actually rare. Like you see someone with X, Y, and Z items, and that's impressive. And then you might have something that they don't have, so you can trade rather than everyone kind of having access to the same rare items. So yeah, like I'm stoked. I'm excited. One of the things that I'm going to be working on is creating a lot more content. So you'll see that the Twitter has started to post more often. We'll start to share more content over the next couple of weeks, teasers and videos and trailers. We will be launching a TikTok as well, so that you can engage with us there, keep track of the latest updates and just the content that we're making as a team. But yeah, I've seen like stress and frustration. I get that. We all get that, and that's why we've put this AMA out there to put ourselves out there and to introduce ourselves to make this announcement about like what we're planning. But yeah, I think the community's a really important reason why this property attracted us in the first place, and why we bought the game, and why we've put the effort into to revive it, because yeah, you're all still here after months of waiting for an update. So yeah, excited to work closer with the community. Over the next
And
few
like
months.
one of the, thanks so much, David. One of the main messages that we want to put across today as well is that this doesn't need to be the only AMA. This doesn't need to be the only update. This, like, we do want to support the game in the future. We do want to do more with Reforged now that we've got this like platform and this fresh and this fresh start for everyone. In order to kind of get there, we need you guys. Like, we need you guys to share the game. We need you guys to bring new players in. We need people engaging with this game to show that there is a market for it. Because if we have like 100 players in Reforged, like after a month, it's going to be pretty tough for us to want to continue to support the game like for the next few years. Like, we do have a lot of updates already made, so there's like going to be a lot of meaningful updates. But yeah, to kind of grow this game, like there's so much we can do with this IP. But there's just so much potential in Sword Factory, and if like everyone gets on board and kind of plays it a lot, then yeah, like anything can happen with Sword Factory over the next sort of couple of years. One more thing that we missed, actually, I'm not sure if Dan mentioned it. I didn't hear him. Was I will get to the donk soon as well, but I'm very excited to hear your opinions about everything we've just shared. But Dan, we made some onboarding improvements as well, right? So that new players actually don't get arrows that point them into the sea, and because it's the current Sword Factory X is very difficult for a new person to start, right?
Yeah, there's the tutorial steps aren't the easiest to follow, because sometimes it asks you to push buttons and the buttons don't exist, or you have to put stuff in the bank, but the bank platform hasn't been built, and yeah, so all of that funkiness has been tidied up for the new version. So hopefully, in addition to getting all the nice new Reforged stuff, it will be a smooth start for many people as well.
Yeah, and like that's great for like even for experienced players who like know who know how to play Sword Factory inside and out, like even better than we do. Like, it's still in your interest for us to do updates like that to improve the mobile experience, to improve the performance, to improve the onboarding, because it means that there's going to be a lot more fresh players bringing energy to the ecosystem, and then kind of like bringing you up as well. Because if there's like 100,000 like new players coming into this game, then you guys who are like in the top 100 are going to be loving life, because you're going to be their idols, right? But like sword artisans. Now it's time. Badonk, you've heard quite a bit now. You like probably knew quite a bit of it already, but what are your thoughts as one of the top 5 Sword Factory players? super dedicated, been around for a long time. What are you thinking about Sword Factory Reforged?
Well, to go back to the basics of Sword Factory is paramount. Honestly, it's needed, and it brings back the fun and the enjoyment we had in the initial Sword Factory, which is very much needed right now after every lock boost and dungeons, etc. So I'm really stoked, and I can't wait to test it out and see how it goes. It'll be awesome.
Nice, man. Thanks for those words. That's awesome. I'm not reading the chat at the moment, but like Gina and a few other people are. Once we get so the next phase of this is going to be frequently asked questions. There are many questions which are asked very frequently by you guys, super active community. Really appreciate that. I'll like try and rattle through the ones on my list, and then the plan is once we've got through these kind of pre-asked questions, there'll be a period where we open up the floor for like live questions from people. And the format for that, Badonk might post it in the chat, but it's basically going to be the word question, like hyphen, and then your question. So just like make sure that you put question before your question so that it's easier for us to kind of filter them through in the chat, because if there's loads of talking, then some of the things might get missed. And I'd love to get through as much as possible so that everyone feels heard and listened to. So right, the first question that I have on my list is, when is the game launching? To reiterate, Sword Factory Reforged will be in your hands and in your eyes on the 7th of June 2023. So only a couple more weeks to wait until you can play Reforged. Next question on my list is, why did Tailwind buy Sword Factory? That's a great question. Could spend an hour answering this one. I won't. Maybe we can touch on it in future AMAs as well, but I'll try and be as brief as I can. We bought Sword Factory because, well, we didn't actually originally buy Sword Factory. We invested in 20% of Sword Factory. So that's how we became involved with the game. So we loved the game, played it quite a lot when it first came out, saw a ton of potential. It was really exciting. Absolutely love the team, the old team, and still do. I mean, we have as fond place in our heart for Ed as you guys do, for Sky and Azure and all those guys like Future. They and of course Samir, right? Samir, the original OG creator of Sword Factory. Like we got a lot of love for those guys, and we spent like many hours talking to them and hanging out, even in person, some of us as well. But yeah, like so we bought 20% of the game to work with those guys, but they retained control, and they were going to kind of like go with the game and grow it as much as they could. Obviously, it didn't work out as everyone wanted to, so I think there were some kind of, as you guys know, like some kind of breakdowns in relationships between the team, and like some people had like real life get in the way and like couldn't maybe put as much time into the game as they wanted, and then that could maybe get people like people that are still putting a lot more time in like feeling a bit bitter, and just natural human interactions and like breakdowns in processes and things like that. So throughout this whole time, Tailwind were kind of 20% investor, silent partner, just not really able to do much because we can't put a load of resources into the game that we don't really own, and it wasn't even our game. We were just investors in the game, right? And then why we bought Sword Factory was that this all came to a head. I don't know the exact date. Like Nathan will probably correct me if I try and give a date. Let's say like end of summer last year, or like early fall. The guys came to me and they said, "Look, like we like want to get out of the project. We want to sell you the remaining stake that all of us have, and then you guys can be the new owners." It wasn't a great time for us to do this. Like we have like Tailwind as a studio have multiple games. We have like over 10 games at the moment. So we didn't have anyone that we could put on the game. But the thing is, like, if we didn't do it, like then it'd be in the same situation anyway. So it's like if we say no, the game just stays as it is, stagnating, no updates, nothing really happen. If we say yes, it's gonna be the same for a while. But we knew that we would eventually be able to have some resource free to put time into it and bring it where it needs to be. Because if we're going to do something, as hopefully you'll see when you play the game, we like want to do it properly and really sort of put a lot of love into it. And that's what we've now been able to do. Even, but yeah, I mean, apologies it took so long. It was just kind of circumstance that we had to buy it when we did, because otherwise there wouldn't really have been any owners on the game. But no disrespect to them, all great people, all moved on to great things. So yeah, this is a new era for Sword Factory Reforged. Next question. This is one for Dan. And in fact, you've already answered this one, so I think we should skip this one. It was going to be what are the main changes we've made to the game.
I can give a TLDR if that.
Yeah, go for it. Yeah.
Cool. So gain of money and new swords is much more gradual. Dungeons and stuff have been removed. Swords are going to take some time to get, basically. Put money in your machines and you'll get good swords, but it will take time.
Cool.
That is the summary.
Thanks, Dan. How have we addressed the issues that players had with the old version?
That is a great question. Yeah, I mean, the biggest concerns seem to have been around the balance. So we've talked a lot about balance just now. Hopefully you can see that this is where we've focused most of our attention. And we've also put in some like stability and optimization improvements as well. So just in general, we've tried to kind of optimize everything and make things a bit smoother.
Cool. Next question. What is the plan for the future of Sword Factory Reforged? That is me. So yeah, the future is, I've kind of touched on this already. We already have a lot of new content that we can release over time, in terms of like, it's kind of some of the stuff that you're already used to from updates in terms of like more content, more molds, more kind of progression, all this kind of stuff. Like bring back some of the old systems that aren't in Reforged that we've taken out initially, but like twist them and improve them and make them kind of more interesting. I would love, I mean, I have big plans for what I'd love to do with the game. Like if we get support from you guys and it grows and it's an active game that's profitable, like we can invest even more time and attention into like narrative improvements, like actually having some story. I would love to have some story in the Sword Factory universe. I would love to have more depth to the combat system, in terms of like different interactions. Like we were talking about improving sort of like blocking and things like this, and just making combat more interesting. More kind of PvP stuff, like bring dungeons back in a cool way. There's a lot of potential, but on the flip side, none of this is a promise, because if it doesn't do something useful, then yeah, like we just can't continue to put that in. Next question. How can players get involved in the development of the game? Great question for you, David.
Yeah, so there's three main ways at the moment. So I mentioned earlier, but we will be opening up the tester application again. So there are people already in the tester program, but we'll be posting more information about how you can get involved in testing this new release. Similarly, we're always looking for like passionate and experienced Discord community members that can join our mod team. Like this is a bustling server. There's lots of people, so like once the game's live again, there'll be lots of chat. We'll need people kind of around the world that are up for helping. So we'll put more information on how you can be a mod and help support me and Bedonk in the community. And then also we launched recently, there's an announcement in the sub announcement channel, I believe, about the Ask a Dev channel. So there's various different routes of you giving your feedback and making suggestions and asking questions. We'll be doing more of these AMAs in the future. The plan is to do a play session on the 7th of June where we'll all kind of jump in. You'll be able to play with some of the devs in game. We'll be streaming the new game as it goes live.
I won't be talking to anyone because I'll be too busy kicking ass and trying to
yeah.
I haven't got time to
a lot of focus.
max out my trying to level up.
But yeah, like I'll be putting more information out on all of those things, and if there's more ideas of how you can get involved that we haven't thought of, then that will be something that comes out of those conversations, and we'll announce more information on that as it progresses.
It's going to be interesting to see if on like launch day we like get that thing where like some people like pre-sleep before launch and just do like a massive sesh. I just can't wait to see how like people respond to this.
Well, we keep resetting the game every time. Like once we do a new build, we reset it. We lose all of our progress again. And I'm looking forward to actually competing with some of you in a live leaderboard. See who can get some top ranks first.
Indeed. Just to clear that up, people won't be resetting their progress again after launch. It's just like on the test servers, we've had to constantly reset. So yeah, like all of us have done like level 1 to 200 many times by now. So like
Stop
yeah,
taking my swords.
right. Next question. You kind of touched on this, but let's do one more for David, and then I'll jump to the other one actually. Will we need additional moderators and/or admins? If so, when will applications open up?
I think Don, we're pretty much ready to go. So do we have a? I guess next week is probably a vague answer. I'll put out more information ASAP, but we're pretty much ready to bring more people on. So very soon we'll be announcing that.
Yeah,
Cool.
everything's ready. All the forms are created. All the interviews are set up afterwards. So yeah, we are ready to go. Hopefully next week, like David just said.
Thanks, guys. This is a big question that I think everyone is waiting to hear about. We've been thinking about this a lot, and we've spoken to a lot of the community. But Donk's been especially helpful here. The question is, how will we be rewarding OG players for the time spent in Sword Factory X? Obviously, bearing in mind this is a new game. David, this is for you, I think.
Yeah. So I'm gonna need clarification on the specific details because we've been talking about this for a while. I'll speak vaguely.
Maybe
And
Dan can jump in then, because
yeah,
Dan's kind of a bit
yeah,
further
I'll
along.
pass this over to Dan because Dan, you've been doing the work to actually make this reality.
Put me in the hot seat. Okay. I'll talk about the second part of this, and then Mike, I'll leave the game passes to you. But for all of the players who have reached level 1000 and above, you will receive a badge in Sword Factory X, which when you join Sword Factory Reforged, this will instantly redeem some legacy players' cool founders goodies. So the brackets that you have to reach are level 1000 to get the lowest tier, level 1500 to get the next tier, and level 2000 for the top best possible tier of stuff. So the goodies are. So I can need another drum roll here.
Great game show, Dan. This is great. I'm enjoying this.
The goodies are level 1. So people who reach level 1000 and up, you get
the bronze package.
Okay, the bronze package. You get what do you get? You're gonna get an exclusive chat tag that marks you out as being a super awesome legacy player to everybody forever. That's yours to keep. And you'll also get a bundle of boosts, so you get a nice little head start on everybody else.
That's actually really powerful, because getting boosts, like, they're not cheap gems wise, right? So if you can get ahead of the game by like dropping some boosts early on, that's actually pretty cool.
Yep. For level 2, so this is for level 1500 and up, you get all the stuff that the previous tier gets. You also get an exclusive legacy sword. So this is a legacy sword model. It's going to look totally unique and completely badass. I don't know if it's in eye candy or not, but it has like a really cool prismatic kind of rainbow sheen thing.
You can try and get it in eye candy soon.
Oh, please get it in. It's I love this. This made my day when I saw it today. So yeah, this will be given to you at the start of the game. You can sell it if you like.
Don't sell it. Don't sell
it. You'll never get another one if you do sell it. So you may want to keep it, bank it.
I'm really not looking forward to doing sword restores for this either. So I am not in the mood to do restores. So please look after your legacy sword and don't come crying, hopefully.
Yes, there will be no restores for this fancy sword. And then the top tier at level 2000 and up is you will get all of the rewards for the previous tiers, and your machines will be made of solid gold.
And there is a video for that will be an eye candy, if not now, very soon. Yeah, that is cool. So our amazing 3D artist has gone through and made some improvements to the map of the hub. And yeah, like while she was doing that, she did some gold versions of the machines. In terms of level 2000, we did some research into how many players have reached each milestone, and ignoring cheaters. You guys may correct me here, but from the data that I received, there were only about 33 people who were over level 2000. So those 33 people who have been dedicated enough to get to that point without cheating will receive golden machines for life. So yeah.
Forever.
And apparently it is in eye candy now. So go check out the channel and see some golden machines, and see what you're not going to get, because you haven't got 2000 level, or do you, Rory? Looking at you. Oh, and then on final thing on the sword, on the 15,500 to get this unique sword. We spoke a lot about this. Like, we don't want it to be so like, say you start playing the game and you decide to sell it immediately. Like, yeah, that it will give you a head start. It will give you a chunk of cash, but it's not going to be such a crazy amount of cash that it's really worth it. What I would recommend is that you cherish that sword, like, and actually put it in the ascender and level it up with you. So, like, as you kind of grow as a player and as a master artisan, sort of making these like amazing swords, like, bring that sword with you on the journey and like upgrade it, and that'd be pretty fun. So yeah, that is because there's only going to be like there's only going to be like a couple of thousand of these. I'm not sure what the numbers were on 1500. Max, who's in the chat, he might be able to share that. But yeah. Did you have anything else on the rewards, Dan? Oh, one more thing from me actually. As Dan said, they will be tracked by badges that you receive in Sword Factory X. So you'll kind of get the badge in Sword Factory X, and then we'll know that you're worth the kind of reward. I'm not sure if there's a deadline or anything, Dan, on this. I think we might not be able to answer that question, but what I would recommend is, if you don't have those milestones and you really want one of them, try and work really hard to get it before June the 7th, because that's your best chance of like guaranteeing you get that reward.
Yeah, I think you only receive these rewards on the first play of Reforged. So make sure that you have your milestones are done in Sword Factory X before you launch Reforged for the best chance of getting it.
Fair play. Thanks, Dan. Is that your piece on that?
That's my piece on that. Over to you on the Game Pass situation.
It's so exciting. That was awesome. Thank you. Great work. And thanks to everyone in the community that helped us with the with sorting those rewards. Because like golden machines is sick. On Game Passes. So it's a new game. The new game needs to be supported. We have to pay our team to do updates, and yeah, like in order to make it so that people who are dedicated to Reforge are the ones that are benefiting from it, there will be a new set of Game Passes in Reforged. We're not carrying over Game Passes from Sword Factory X into Reforged. However, what we want to do for you guys and legacy players who are kind of coming back and like getting hyped up at the beginning of this journey, because the first couple of weeks is probably the most important couple of weeks for this game in order to like see it grow up the charts and sort of bring new players in. We want to do 50% discount on Game Passes for the first couple of weeks. So if you get in early, then you get a chance to kind of get some of those cheaper Game Passes. Yeah, so that is what we're doing with Game Passes. I've answered that one. What is happening with player data? Will it transfer? Nope. Fresh start for everyone. Even testers, like even the team, everyone will have their data wiped before the kind of launch second, and it'll be a fair game to see if Rory is still going to be in the top 3 or if someone else is going to be up there instead. Next question. How hard will it be for players to reach higher levels in Sword Factory Reforged, e.g. 1000? Daniel.
It'll be harder than it is in Sword Factory X.
You can get it in like 2 hours or something, or like it doesn't take long, does it, in Sword Factory X?
Yeah, you just have to sell one quadrant exoskeleton thermal blast plus sword, and then you have like quadrillions of cash. So it'll be harder. Yeah.
Cool. There's a few more questions. We'll try and rattle through these so we can get to the audience questions. What's happening to the hacked currency? Will it be usable? This is an answer from Theo, who isn't on the AMA, but he will be on a future AMA. We just wanted to make sure that he can spend as much time thinking about actually working on the game as possible, because he is like Atlas holding the world on his back right now with his amazing dev work on the game, getting it out on time. So I will read his words for you. No, the hacked update wasn't in a salvageable state when we took over. While a new currency was a legitimate way to attempt to balance a broken economy, after a deep dive into how the systems worked, we decided a new, fresh, reworked game was the best and most sustainable route for new and existing fans of the game. So the hacked update, the guys did a good job getting it into a cool kind of place, but it just didn't feel like it was enough for like where we wanted to take the game forward and like a really stable level platform. So yeah, hacked isn't happening. In the future, will we have multiple currencies and allow continued progression, kind of Pet Sim X style, kind of going into new worlds and new things? Possibly. That's definitely an avenue that we could explore. Another thing for the future that I would love to do is just making the factories more social, so that it's not just about you're in your own little factory by yourself doing your thing and then you teleport to someone else's factory. I would love to find a way to kind of bring players together more often, hanging out together on the same server. But yeah, all of these things are TBD based on support. Next question: what will happen to the current Sword Factory X? I've already answered this one. Theo's written this. He said, we're intent on keeping Sword Factory X compatible with Sword Factory Reforged from a tech standpoint. So some bugs and features will make their way down to the original. I'm going to say not will, like could make their way down to the original, but there'll be no active development. So yeah, it might get a little bit of accidental love, but generally Sword Factory X is a museum. It is a work of art in its own way. Next question: is the 500x bulk upgrader update on the way? That seems to be quite a commonly requested thing. I understand why, because there was a literal note on the UI of the game saying coming next week, and it said coming next week for a very long time. So I completely understand why people want that feature. And also, yeah, it's really bloody annoying trying to do like times 50 level up, and like every time you prestige, it's just, when I was playing the game, I like pretending to be a new player like a few months ago, I spent my entire time just upgrading my machines because there was no 500x bulk upgrade, right? What I will say is it's less important in Reforged than it is in X, because in X, you're not in that position where you're just have infinite money and you have more money than you can click to upgrade your machines. That just doesn't happen in Reforged. However, it's still a nice feature and we would still like to bring it in. And Theo's answer to this is yes, exclamation mark. So do expect the 500 bulk upgrader, even though it's not as essential as it is in X. Next question: are you removing / tapping rarities, molds, etc.? Do you want to read this one out, Dan? Just because my voice is going and I've got a sore throat.
Yeah, so in the spirit of removing stuff like dungeons, some of the highest tier rarities, molds, classes, all that sort of stuff, we are capping for now, but we will reintroduce them later on once the progression starts to catch up. So there's no need for super crazy rarities at the moment. It's going to take some time to just get through all of them anyway.
So is it kind of like Pet Sim X, where like you get to a certain point and it's like, right, this is a nice plateau and I like can keep earning money, but I know, but like because there's no higher mold in game yet, I'm not getting that crazy multiplier from that new mold. Therefore, it's like a nice natural content plateau to kind of kick ass for a bit, and then we do an update, like unlock the new content, and everything kind of scales up again.
Yeah, exactly. Like when we introduce new stuff, it's going to have a purpose. It's not just going to be there for the sake of adding on more stuff without really doing much. So we will
My
reintroduce
understanding
it,
is,
but it'll have reasons to be there.
yeah, and my understanding is that at launch we're going to have three worlds. The kind of first three worlds of like combat fighting. And then I think when we release new ones, we like want to put a little bit more love into them to kind of twist them a bit so that you don't know exactly what you're expecting. So you know exactly what you're expecting because you expect it, but you don't know what to expect because it could be different. Next question: what is happening to dungeons in Sword Factory Reforged? So yeah, dungeons will continue to exist in Sword Factory X, but will be removed for Sword Factory Reforged. They may appear later down the road. I couldn't possibly comment. Lol. We understand they make up a big part of the game's economy. Yeah, we've spoken about this a little bit. So yeah, you shouldn't find any entry points into dungeons at Reforged release. I reckon people will be pretty happy about that. Dungeons can be cool, and we'll make sure that if they ever if or when they appear in Reforged, they will be suitably awesome and exciting to look forward to. With dungeons and the re-enchanter gone, what value do gems hold, Daniel?
Gems. So gems are still used for. We still use them to unlock additional ascenders, so that's super useful. They still upgrade the soul tank, which obviously increases, the rate that your ascender actually works at. You can trade them still. So if you want to trade gems for a cool sword, that's entirely up to you. And of course, boosts are still primarily you would spend either Robux or you'd spend your gems to get boosted.
I love a boost. There is nothing more rewarding for me in Sword Factory than getting a load of swords to a decent point and then chucking on a big luck potion, spamming the ascender as much as I can during that period to boost my swords to a really high point, and then chucking on a 3x or whatever it is sell value potion so I get like loads of extra cash, and then selling all those swords that I've just made and just getting an absolute ton of cash, and then being able to kind of level up a lot more than I would have done if I hadn't kind of timed those boots. It feels really strategic and kind of quite rewarding to kind of use those things effectively. And they're also great because you don't need to buy them. You can get them from gems, from actually grinding and playing the game. So kind of timing it so that you kind of, while your ascender's working, you kind of jump out and sort of like kill some stuff, get some gems and some souls. And yeah, hopefully the core loop of this game is really engaging because everything means something again. That's the idea. Thanks for that summary of gems. What's happening to events like Blood Moon? I'm not even going to try and pronounce that word, as players use them a lot as luck boost.
Cryostasis.
That word, cryostasis.
Yeah, these are still being kept. I think the Blood Moon event in particular is super cool. I think it's still quite popular, but the exact impact of it we're going to nerf slightly and just kind of revamp how it works to keep it in line with the new philosophy of more responsible balance and reducing inflation in the economy. We're like the Federal Reserve, but for games.
Thanks. This is the final question now from the pre-written questions. Overall balancing in Sword Factory X, will that be adjusted as well? And will our data get reset if a rebalancing is performed? So this is about Sword Factory X, Daniel.
Oh, this is for me.
To be honest, I said Theo. Feel free to answer it, or I will. I can answer if you like. So the answer to this question is Sword Factory X won't have its balancing adjusted, and there won't be a data reset in Sword Factory X. It will remain as it is, apart from minor bug fixes and things like that. So yeah, sorry for for throwing you on the spot.
I had to take a few seconds just to understand what the question was, but
No, it's totally fine.
you have handled it.
So yeah, now we're going to take some questions from the community. This should be really fun. Thank you for listening to us waffle on about Sword Factory. Hopefully you can hear our passion and how excited we are for what's being built and what we can achieve here alongside you guys. Special shout out at this point to Midnight for staying up way past midnight in Australia. It's probably a ridiculous hour, and I know you weren't going to make it, but thank you for listening in, and also being a super active community member. Let's have a look at the chat. I'm not sure, but Don, do you want to read out these questions from the community? Maybe that might be really helpful.
I can read some of them. Yeah, I have written down some, but right now, guys, is the time to start writing your questions. We will try to answer most of them, or as many as we can, in this time we have left. We will start up with some of the ones you have already posted previously. One is there going to be different designs to the machines in the future?
We haven't discussed it. There's probably going to be quite a lot of I don't knows to these, and we will be completely honest and open when we don't know something, and get back to you where we can on the answer. On different designs to machines, I would love to, if we did kind of a hacked thing where we had like a different world and like a different currency, and you kind of moved beyond your base factory, it would make a lot of sense to have a different machine at that point. In terms of, oh, actually, I've just realised what the question is. You're actually talking about from X to Reforge. So, yeah, so there actually is a different design to the machine from X to Reforge. So, Dan alluded to it earlier when he spoke about the cell stations. Basically, what's happening is there's a lot more space on the machine to see parts of the sword. So it's rather than kind of going through flat on the machine, it's like propped up, so you can just see the stats on the sword as it goes through. It is pretty cool. Obviously, you probably need to have really, really quick eyes, because by the time you've got a high level conveyor, your swords are whizzing through. But yeah, there is a different design there, and then a different design for the gold, super awesome, dedicated people like the Dunk.
Okay. Another one is there's still time to gain levels before the rewards on release?
2 weeks.
No,
2 weeks, guys.
Oh, okay. Yeah, sorry, you were answering. Sorry.
Yeah, so you've got 2 weeks before the release, before launch. So go gain those levels.
Yep.
You want the
I like the machines idea, but will more machines be added or a new mechanic for them?
It's a cool question. If anything, we actually spoke about removing one of the machines at one point, because the way that the stats work is obviously like some of the machines upgrade multiple stats, and it's all a little bit complex for a new player and like a younger player. So something that we kind of think about a lot is like who's the target audience for the game, and like who's like a Roblox player, and what's the main target audience. And kind of building up a kind of a profile of like who you guys are, and like how we can bring new people in who will enjoy the game. And I think it is quite a hardcore game. I think kind of to be at the top, you need to play a lot, and you need to like play really strategically. And yeah, it's not a simple game. My gut tells me that we will avoid adding unnecessary complexity, and we would rather make things simple and accessible. How do you feel about that, Dan?
Yeah, if I can jump in for a second, I think like we're unlikely to add new machines to the conveyor belt. Like, I think that set of machines is a really good base for just your standard swords that are coming out of it. What is most likely to happen is something a bit like the Ascender or the Re-enchanter or something like that, which modifies your swords further, but only unlocks at like a high level. So when you're getting bored of the game because you've now obtained your super high level sword, you're looking for new stuff to do to it, you're looking for new ways to upgrade it. That's probably the way that we would add new machines or new
Someone
mechanics.
had a really cool idea about having more meaningful rewards for kill count, right? Because like kill count got added as a feature towards the end of the life cycle of the game, and it was always like this is the first part of a really meaningful stat, so make sure you get higher kills on your thing, and it never really came through. So I think that like there's so much potential for like things like that to add more purpose, and then some of that could come in the forms of machines and mechanics and systems and all that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm. I see a lot of questions regarding the game passes. I believe some may have joined late. Your Sword Factory X game passes will stay. There will be new for Sword Factory Reforged.
Yeah, thanks, man. That is correct.
Um,
But 50% discount for the first couple of weeks.
oh yeah, true. Will there be a new map for each of the worlds?
No, so the first three, they're not new maps. In order to sort of get it out faster and like not spend like weeks and weeks making all new maps and stuff. The first three maps for launch are familiar maps. So in terms of art time, we put more of that on sort of user experience and like the factory itself and improving that. If the game does well, there's like definitely a lot of potential with like future maps to do brand new maps and all sorts of things. It would be really cool to do a bit more with the level design because at the moment you kind of go in and you just run around randomly trying to get as many monsters as you can. I think that like yeah, the level design could be a lot more exciting. Uh, I would love to start adding in narrative secrets and Easter eggs into the existing maps and future maps and things like that, to kind of tease at what's coming in the future and like bigger sort of things involved in this world. And if this world is even linked to other worlds potentially, it probably is.
Question from Midnight. Using gems, would we be able to buy new machines or upgrade our swords?
Dan, it's similar to the answer that you just gave, right?
Yeah, I definitely want to give gems more purpose,
Mhm.
and I think that upgrading the machines is certainly an option that we can explore. Um, it's not in the plans just yet, but it has been thought about. So
What we want to avoid, which is what happened last time, is like when you're upgrading the ascender. I know it's with cash rather than gems, but you kind of stand on this button, and after standing on this button for long enough and spending enough money, you've got like a times 1 trillion, 100 trillion, and all sorts of numbers multiplier on the ascender luck. And we just want to manage things a lot more carefully. So the numbers you'll see will make a lot more sense. So when we add anything that boosts luck and scales things up, we'll just try and do it responsibly. So that doesn't mean no. It just means like it should feel fun and meaningful, whatever systems we add in terms of upgrades and things like that.
Another question: would there be more graphics disabling function settings? Because when I want to play on mobile, when I'm away from home, it's so laggy even at the lowest graphics.
Even now, is it? Even though we did the performance
I think Theo's just
already.
answered this in the chat.
Okay.
Okay, great. Can
Yeah,
someone read out Theo's answer?
he said no, just better performance, and yeah, I think there's still a lot of optimization to be done. Still, like we focused most of the code efforts on fixing balance and stuff, but certainly we've come across bits in the code that um, could be optimized a lot better. So
Mm-hmm.
I don't know
I
if it's
think there were,
necessarily
from what I hear,
fixed.
there might be a couple of memory leaks still in the game, like minor things. But like most of the kind of optimization was done already.
Okay.
Yeah, there's still a lot to do. There's
Yeah.
a lot more we could do.
Will there still be enchants? If so, will there be any new ones, or will they all stay the same?
You know what? Like there are still enchants. I don't think we actually switched off many of the enchants. I think most of the enchants will be. I actually wonder if you might need to content gate some of those a little bit because like there's actually a lot of enchants at the moment in the base Reforged game. So we'll have a look at that. No new enchants as yet. Most of the focus has been again like on refining the core that was already there, stripping back rather than adding loads of new features and mechanics, which would have taken up a lot of dev time making all the new stuff. So yeah, great point. We'd love to think about adding more enchants in future once we start doing content updates. Any thoughts on that, Dan? And also, yeah, like we'll always take suggestions and things from the community on those.
Yep, I agree. All the enchants are basically staying in the game, but if they need to be nerfed or slightly revamped, then we will flag them. But for the most part, they should be staying as they are.
Okay. There's actually a follow-up question regarding Pathfinder and Collector enchants if they are going to be nerfed. Do you have any
Uh,
thoughts on that?
Not at the moment. We will just look at all of the enchantments and see if they still make sense in the context of the new balance.
But
So
Dom, you know the game better than I do. Are those enchants kind of enchants that allow you to AFK and like auto farm basically? Is
Yeah,
that my understanding of
more or less,
enchants?
yeah.
Yeah. We haven't discussed it internally. We should probably have a chat about how we feel about that mechanic. I mean, there's obviously pros and cons. Like, it's kind of nice that people stay online playing the game, but yeah, it kind of feels a little bit botty. So we should have a bit of a discussion. What say your thoughts on it, Badunk? Live, putting you on the spot.
I feel like, yeah, there's pros and cons, and that needs to be discussed either way. But yeah, if they stay, they should be nerfed, in my opinion.
Cool. I'd love to hear more opinions as well. Thanks for that. Good question. Whoever asked that, thank you. It's great.
Will there be more limited molds or enchants in the future?
Well, in the current game, some like most of the molds are just really really hard to get because the way that the balancing was done. I'm like stealing Dan's answer here because he's the one that did all the work. But like, yeah, like, there was like something found in like the way it was done where it was ridiculously hard to get more than like the first like few molds, and now it scales in a much more meaningful way that actually feels good. So the ones that you do get like yeah, like it always feels like you're unlocking a new one. In terms of limited ones, I guess the like one that the legacy reward one is limited. I would love to do like limited molds that are like special codes and things like that, like competition things. Yeah, like why not? Like things for like influencers coming into the game, like having limited molds I think is pretty cool.
yeah, I
What do
don't
you
want to speak too soon, but there is still a mold in the game that you can receive for staying logged in for 17 hours in a row.
is that a thing? That is a mold.
That is a thing, yes. So rare molds that you can only get for like specific, very weirdly specific circumstances are still a thing.
If you plan on doing that, can you please make sure you are a Roblox VIP subscriber before you do it so that we get the premium payouts? Because that would help support the game. Thanks, guys.
um, Next question: will there be law?
Would love lore. Yeah, we have a really, really talented team inside our studio that are brilliant at lore. We actually have lore already. It's just like when we were analyzing the game, our creative director just couldn't help himself, but write loads of lore for the game. So yeah, it's something that we would like to get more surface. Like generally, whenever you make anything, you'll have a lot more lore behind the scenes than what's actually shown to players or like the audience if it's a movie. And it's more about like creative guidelines and drive things behind the scenes. But yeah, like what we surface and how is something that is super exciting to like all of us as like creatives. So would love to put like, but yeah, it's the same answer that the same answer that I've already given. Like when we can do updates because the game is justifying it, then that's something that will be quite high on the list, I think.
Just
Law
on
really
law,
appreciate it as well, right then. Sorry, David, go on.
no, that's all right. So for me, I think the players that have been playing this game for a long time, like obviously Roblox is about role play. There's a lot of kind of imaginations around there. So we will certainly take the lead on any law that we introduce. But I think that's a really cool way of the community getting involved. Like at the end of the day, it's your game, as much as it is ours. Like we all want it to make sense. So that's something that I would like to involve the community with, if there are certain things. So maybe it'll be a decision between X and Y that we present, and then the community gets to choose certain things. And there'll be Easter eggs and stuff that we can drop in along the way as
I
well.
think that like law works best when it's something like what worked really well with Piggy and like also games like Fortnite is when it's like organic and it's environmental based and it's part of the world and players discover it while they're playing the game. Like not necessarily like text based and like things like that. Just like something cool that like creates a mystery and gets you wondering what that means and what its place in the world is, and then you guys as community will then speculate and like maybe even be part of that narrative and drive what direction it goes in, as David was saying. Great.
Is the overall map design, both base or worlds, still the same, or has it fully changed?
We moved things around. We moved a few things around so it was a bit more user friendly. A couple of things are in slightly different places. It's nothing crazy. Like a few of the things have been removed that aren't necessary right now, and yeah, it's pretty similar. You'll be. I don't think that you'll get lost particularly. The like cell station looks different. The cell station's new. The ascender is in a different place, I believe. But yeah, it's pretty similar. Anything to add on that, David?
Sorry, I'm talking like three different places right now.
I bless you.
But no.
Next question.
Yeah, sure. Will we be able to co-op? I think the Midnight is referring to bosses and such.
We haven't done it. We haven't added any new code related to that. So if you could co-op previously, then I assume you can co-op. Theo might have more to say on that in the chat. I haven't got much to add for now on co-op. It hasn't been discussed in any kind of design sessions.
Yeah, things like XP and cash is still shared between players if you like both kill something, so you can work together to defeat some of the high level enemies. But yeah, there's nothing new in that regard.
Let's make the enemies harder, Dan. So that people need to co-op.
They could make bosses even more powerful than they already are.
Yeah. Giant new.
Yeah, if multiple players are active in the same island, maybe that could scale.
That's a slippery slope, though, right? Because that's what happened before.
Yeah. Is there going to be new achievements / quests?
Would love to do that in future updates. In terms of new achievements and quests, I don't think so right now. Like again, it's very. I remember this isn't like we're launching a sequel to Sword Factory. This is Reforged. This is classic. This is bringing it back to basics. This is experiencing that journey with like fresh eyes for the first time. Yeah, for the first time, second time. Sorry. So yeah, I would definitely say don't expect loads and loads of new stuff. Just expect rubbish stuff to have been taken away, and what is there to be crisp and smooth and polished. And then where we go from there is up to the community. It's like experiencing Azeroth for the first time again.
Okay.
There's the WoW references again.
You're never going to stop getting WoW references with me.
Currently, the person who does the most damage to a boss, I believe, or its last hit, gets the rewards. Would this be changed so others get some sort of rewards, or is it evenly shared in the future?
Sounds like a new feature to me. It's not on the roadmap right now.
I think we need to look into the code for this again, but I'm quite sure that the hits are divvied up between whoever actually damaged the boss, and then whoever did the amount of hits to the boss will get some rewards as well. But that's something that we would need to look into and then properly say exactly what the code does. But
I mean, if you're co-oping with someone and that's not working exactly as you would intend, then I imagine that you'll have a civil agreement to share the loot in as equal way as you can, because you'll be kind of on that quest and adventure together side by side. So hopefully you can kind of share those spoils if the game isn't automatically doing it. But Dan seems to think it is, so fingers crossed.
Okay. About 200. I'm changing your question a little bit. Will there be a daily reward, or is the time in-game rewards staying?
it is staying. Yes, the timed reward is still there. There's also definitely scope to introduce a daily login reward also, which I think would be quite popular and certainly relevant.
I'm very pleased by that. It's like David's most requested feature in all of our games.
Literally, I'm annoying everyone so much whenever I bring it
You're
up.
actually not though. I love it when you say it. Right.
So yeah, we'll work on something along those lines.
Okay.
And one benefit, I guess, of being part of a family of multiple games is that we can kind of take shared learnings and communities and and like features and things like that, maybe between our games. So if we make a daily, so if like one of our other teams makes a daily reward system for, say, Chicken Life, which is one of our other games, it's a really cool role playing game, one of the best chicken games on Roblox. Then we could more easily fit that tech into Sword Factory Reforged because you have to do all the work from scratch.
Cool. Will cracked molds be removed?
Yes.
Simple. To the point. That's good. Will anything be done about the re-enchanter? Enchant logs, auto enchanter, so forth.
I'd love to hear what people think about that because Dan was saying that we should switch it off for now until we know more about it, and I think he's probably got a point. I was saying it's pretty cool, and it's probably not overpowered, but yeah, would love to get a bit more data and thoughts on that. It would probably make sense for safety's sake to not have it there at launch, and then we can kind of spend a bit more time thinking about it and talking to you guys about it, and just getting like what you like and what you don't like about it. Anything to add on that, Dan?
Uh, Nothing at the moment. I mean, it's another one of these ones which is very much unknown. It's very easy to, I think, break balance if you just get the right combination of stuff with it. So, but yeah, it would be good to know what people think in general, just about how it works.
When we were going through the game and putting this update together, which did take quite a while, like you'd like be surprised how complex this kind of thing can be. Like there were so many cases where we just found a little thing. So even today, when we were testing the game, right, I was like, this balancing is super fun. It's really great. Like, great work, team. This is spot on. And then 5 minutes later, I was fighting some neon boss monsters, and then suddenly I was getting like 6 million like coins, really cash, really easily. And I was like, balance is broken. I've just gained like 50 levels in the last 10 minutes, and it was just like there's so many areas of the game where the tiniest thing can just break it all and unbalance it. So things like the re-enchanter, if we're not 100% sure that it's going to create that smooth experience, it will be very easy to exploit and the game won't be fun because of it. So yeah, we would rather err on the side of caution, and like back to basics. It's the ethos there.
Okay. Will there be some sort of friend boost in the game?
I think so. I think we've still got a friend boost, right? I think I saw one the other day. There's definitely a group boost still. I don't think we're doing the Discord joining boost because that was very contentious. I don't think that's happening. But friend boost, Theo, you might be able to answer that one. Chat.
Um, Actually, for the time being, I think that's about all the questions right now.
Awesome. I mean, thanks for sticking around, guys. Thanks for hanging around for like 80 minutes. This is going to be like a quick 20-minute AMA, but I'm so glad that you were really excited and wanted to find out more about the game and listen to us waffle on. So the plan is just to quickly reiterate: Sword Factory relaunch, Sword Factory relaunch, Sword Factory Reforged, 7th of June. Get there, be hyped, and we will be doing a launch event of some kind in terms of talking to you and playing with you guys. So yeah, thanks so much for tuning in. Really appreciate you. Oh, there seems to be one more question.
There
Do you
seems to
want
be
to
a
answer that
few
question?
dropping in right now. If you want to take them or you want to close down,
Should we leave it because my throat's about to go? But let's maybe follow those up with text answers if we
sure.
can capture those questions and we can respond to them in the
We've still got
Discord.
the Ask a Dev chat, so we can maybe do follow-ups there
Yeah, let's like stick them in
over
there.
time.
Yeah, just a quick teaser for the Ask a Dev. If you're level 50 or a server booster, you can write in the Ask a Dev channel forum, and all of you can watch it. So go there and ask away if you're able to.
Thanks, guys. Really appreciate you. Have a great couple of weeks and make sure you get those levels.
Yeah.
Your legacy goodies await.
While I have the stage, I've just tweeted about the relaunch, so please go like and share it. And let's tell all your friends that Sword Factory's coming back.
Sick.
Have a good day.
Have a good day. See you all.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.